Europe is throwing the book at Google. The Commission accuses the internet giant of squeezing the competition with a search engine that's used by 90% of users on this continent. The company, based in Mountain View, California, indeed looms large in Europe. Brussels serving Google with a charge sheet which includes directing traffic to its shopping site and issues over its Android mobile phone operating system. We're going to look at the case against Google, whether it could be forced to change the entire way it does business, but also at the counter-arguments. The U.S. president recently accused Europe of hiding behind high-minded positions, as he put it, to please competitors that simply don't measure up to U.S. tech giants. Critics, though, argue that in the U.S., politicians of all stripes are in the pocket of Silicon Valley, and that Europe's trust-busting crusade is long overdue. It broaches the broader argument over a digital economy that plays by America's rules. Who exactly owns our data? See the recent EU rulings over the right to be forgotten and on search engines and profiling of consumers. And where do the masters of the virtual world hang their hat when it comes to paying taxes? That's also been a big issue. Today in the France 24 debate, the big bad Google. And with us to talk about it, Jean-Manuel Rozan, co-founder of the Quant search engine, which you say is 2 years old?
We launched 2 years ago. We started the company 4 years ago.
Right. And you say the search engine that protects your privacy.
It's one of our key values. We believe...
As opposed to who, for instance?
As opposed to everyone else.
Okay.
Everyone else.
Everyone else.
We don't keep data on you. We anonymize IPs so that you can come on Quant, ask a question, come back, ask another question. We won't know it's you both times. And we think there's a big fallacy. The fallacy is to believe, or to make people believe, that there's a need to know things about themselves personally, the color of their eyes, their preferences for different things, to give them a relevant answer on the net. This is not necessary.
All right, well, we'll talk about it a little bit more. I also want to welcome back Emmanuel Vivier, co-founder of digital consulting firm, The Hub Institute. Tell us quickly, The Hub Institute.
Oh, we're just helping, let's say, the big firm just to get the internet and understand how they can transform themselves to better serve customer online.
What is it? I read that here in this country, I think it's 1/3 of companies still don't have a website.
Yeah, there's still some good market for us.
Okay. Christian Renard, CEO of digital consultants, Aximark, and you were telling us before we went on air that we still don't know what the business model is going forward, or it's very difficult to get a clear sense of it at this point.
I think the key thing today is to share the vision. What the big lack that politicians and leaders have is what is happening, and it's legitimate. And what people don't understand is, in fact, everything has been organized in business and in our political life around the physical world. And technology has changed this world immensely in the last 30 years.
And it's going to change it more.
But it is a technological challenge, and our organizations are absolutely able to master that. No problem. And one of the big difficulties is when you have this digital wave coming up, they think technology. But you have another world. It's like you flip a coin. It was like that. It was the world. And now the coin is flipped, and you have the physical, and you have a digital. What is it? It's a digital planet. 2 billion people own a smartphone in their pocket. So this is a very different thing. It's a transformational challenge, which organizations are not done for. And this is a big difficulty. So what we do is helping them have vision, and sharing that.
And we'll see in our conversation if politicians, again, on both sides of the Atlantic, have a firm grip on things. And joining us from Aalborg in Denmark, his CV includes stints at both Microsoft and the European Commission. Jacques Lafitte, founding partner of lobbying consultants Avisa Partners. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Now, the France 24 debate, you can always join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Just to remind people who haven't followed this story closely, it's the culmination of a 5-year investigation that some say could change the way business is done online. EU Competition Commissioner Margrethe Vestager unveiling a statement of objections to which Google now has 10 weeks to respond. Solange Mougin has the story.
They are the current kings of the internet, the go-to company for 90% of web searches in Europe. That's even more than in the US, where around 70% of Americans turn to Google. With Europe's antitrust charges against the company and another probe into their Android system, Google could have a lot to lose. First, there's the money. The EU can impose fines of up to 10% of annual revenue. Last year, Google raked in $66 billion, which means that fines could reach up to $6 billion if a settlement isn't reached. And then there are some worrisome precedents. Over the past decade, Microsoft has had to pay more than 2.2 billion euros for violating antitrust laws, and they've had to change how they do business in Europe. Costly slaps on the wrist that may have helped other companies gain ground. The slip of Internet Explorer being just one example, Apple being another. Europe isn't alone in its 5-year probe of Google. The US had a similar case against them, but dropped it in 2013. Now, though, Barack Obama is decidedly on the side of Team USA. In February, he accused the 28-nation bloc of favoring European companies.
We have owned the internet. Our companies have created it, expanded it, perfected it in ways they can't compete. And oftentimes, what is portrayed as high-minded positions on issues sometimes is designed to carve out their commercial interests.
Accusations of protectionism that the Commission has shot down. It says that many of the businesses complaining to them about Google are in fact American.
All right. Jean-Manuel Rozan, how strong is the European Commission's case?
It's really not for me to say. I think that they've thought about it for 5 years. They brought a case. Google has a lot of arguments, but I'm not consulting to Google, and I'm not consulting to the EU either.
Does Google have a position that's too large?
Google has more than a dominance. If I told you that a retailer in the US had 65% of the market for retail commerce, or even in Europe 95, then there would be not a revolt, there would be a rebellion. But that is not where the case is, if I understand correctly. The case is on the fact that once you have that dominant position that you may have earned because you have a very good service, then you may have temptation to abuse it. So I think that's where the case rests, clearly.
Emmanuel Vivier?
I think, that's the role of government to make sure the market is fair for everyone. But the truth is, law is pretty slow. Technology is pretty fast. We have seen with Microsoft, there was an issue with Internet Explorer. For the time they took the decision, basically Chrome, the browser from Google was already there and eating their market share. So I think
it's going to be the same once that by the time this thing has gone through appeals and everything and is settled.
We will see, but sometimes I think we might find good fights, but I'm not sure we always come up with a good solutions.
Was it a good fight, though? Is it a good fight?
If they think and if they have proved that they really have, I would say, monopolistic issues, yes, maybe. But yeah, it needs to be proven, and I think sometimes, the customer is choosing just the best solution for him. So if there is nobody else to compete with a better solution, then is it fair to force the best performance solution to slow down, to wait for the rest of the market?
Christian Renard?
I think Europe has to show muscles. And it's a story of power. But it's not by, doing everything to slow down that things will change. We have to keep in mind that Google and others and the like have taught the planet something very new. I mean, I have a small business. I have no office, no employees. I work with people all over the world every day, thanks to Google and others. It costs nothing. I mean, it's a huge. So I think we need to encourage Google, but we need to control Google. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's done now is not really initiated by many large organizations that would like the past to stay longer. And I have another remark, if you allow me, which is key to understand. In Europe, we protect consumers. Personal data protection, a law in 1978, we never heard of it. I mean, this is a non-issue in Europe. And the second thing is, in the political life, it's illegal for business to fund political parties and people. Now, when you are in America, it's just the reverse. the funding of politicians is done by business. And lobbying is a huge thing. They are pros. They are extraordinary. So in America, it's business that is protected, not the consumer. But there is a third element to understand. It's Google and others have empowered human and people and everyone in the planet. And if those large organizations do something wrong...
But you seem to be implying there that both in Europe and in the US, it's business interests that are spurring on the arguments.
Except that in America, there is no protection of consumer. So you should have movement from consumer that will go against the excessive actions from businesses. While in Europe, it doesn't exist. But it's lobbying on both sides. One tries to slow down and the others try to accelerate.
Jacques Lafitte, do you agree?
Well, it's hard to say that the Google case has been accelerated on this side of the Atlantic. I remember my very first meeting with DG Competition on this case was in September 2009, soon to be 6 years. And from first complaint to first statement objections, we had to wait 20 months in the Microsoft case, which is already a sizable delay. In the Google case, thanks, I would say, in good part to Commissioner Almunia, we had to wait 60 months. And I would agree with the people before me who have said that the law is slow, the technology is fast. It doesn't mean that the law should not step into the game at some point, but 5 years is a very, very long time to wait.
All right, you're saying that the Europeans too slow off the mark. And by the way, it's not over. The Google must answer the charge sheet, but there could be more to come.
If an infringement is proven, a case focusing on comparison shopping could potentially establish a broader precedent for enforcing EU competition rules in other instances of Google's favoring its own services over competitive services.
All right, Google did not answer our invitation to join our conversation. They pointed us in the direction of the blogs on their website. And did deny in writing that its search results for shopping queries have harmed companies that have complained. They deny it vehemently. It's why we respectfully but strongly disagree with the statement of objections and look forward to making our case over the weeks ahead. Emmanuel Vivier, your thoughts on what Jacques Lafitte just said, that he's thinking that the Europeans have been too slow out of the starting blocks.
I don't know if it's only the European. I think it's all the government and it's all the lawmakers that are like pushed every time a bit more by technology and by globalization, basically, where suddenly you had your local regulation and now you have global player. They are like very innovative, a lot into technology and yes, it's hard, and I think it's hard sometimes for politicians and lawmakers just to even understand what's going on and make the right law because it's very complicated.
All right, but let me get back to you on that. Jacques Lafitte, it's no longer Mr. Almunia who's the EU commissioner in charge of competition. In fact, it's the former prime minister of the country where you are right now, Margrethe Vestager. And does that mean she is a different person, for sure?
Yes, well, she was not the Prime Minister of Denmark, but she was definitely the staff of the government. And Margrethe Vestager enjoys both here in Denmark and back home for me in Brussels a very good reputation, yes.
And she is saying it's an investigation based on facts. She's now going this Thursday to Washington for a speech before the American Bar Association to plead her case. How is she going to pursue this, you think?
Well, I'd say she does a good job from a PR perspective. I think it's very courageous for her to have announced that she would send an SO to Google just the day before, well, actually the day where she took the plane to the US. And we'll have a chance to defend her decision to send these charges in front of an American audience tomorrow. I think that's good. I mean, courage pays off, and she's very courageous.
Jean-Manuel Rozon?
It's interesting. I wanted to make the following comment. Everything that everyone has said so far, including what you have quoted President Obama as saying, really pushes for the fact that what we are doing is the right thing, which is to bring an alternative. We want to be an alternative search engine for Europe first, and then we would expand to other languages because we believe we have very relevant answers. And then, obviously, if there was a successful European alternative, there would be none of these existing discussions, including President Obama couldn't say they can't make it.
Emmanuel Vivier was making the point earlier that when there was the case filed against Microsoft, and it did result in big fines, but by the time it was settled, so much time had elapsed that Microsoft was no longer the dominant player it was. Do you see the same fate for Google?
Again, I can't predict anyone's fate, especially Google. Google is a very smart and very powerful company, and Google,
so is Microsoft,
for sure will be around for a long time. But here is the issue. I think that when people realize what is done to them on the internet with tracking, how much the large services that own their data know about them and how much they can use it, then there will be some kind of rebellion and they will want to avail themselves of other services. So the key issue is how far people realize and how fast people can bring other services. And that's definitely, whether it's with Quant or with other services, that will break up monopolies, for sure.
On this continent, things like data protection, especially in nations like Germany, very important. And yet, people still, to use the verb, Google. And use that search engine. 90% more, in fact, than in the United States use it as a search engine.
Yes, but in fact, this digital revolution has changed the consumer, has changed the employee, and we get information. It has removed the disbalance in information, which gives power to people. So I think what's going to happen is, first we have to remark that Facebook shopping is coming, and it might have a very different model than Google shopping. So I would support everyone here that it is so fast that probably Google will be in a position like Microsoft was in the past. But it's not the key thing. The key thing is, if you spend money to have your customer buy more, it will bring you 8 times more result than if you spend your money on acquiring a new customer. Still, 90% of the money is spent on acquiring new customers. There are many reasons for that. So what's coming up is, what's going to happen is large brands are understanding that they have to team up with their customers. They have to make them friends and bring trust. And I think technology is going to be used very differently. And all the issues that are now not the right one.
Will be obsolete. We're going to pick up on that point when we come back. We have to take a quick break. Okay. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.